Some betrayals are discovered in real time, through messages, glances, or late-night phone calls. Others arrive quietly, years later, when the affair is already over, when a life has already been built on top of the lie. This truth surfaced 10 years too late, not to confess a moment, but to rewrite an entire decade. And when the past finally speaks, it doesn't just expose what happened back then, it forces everything that followed to be questioned. You're listening to Affair Confessions, where silence ends, and the truth finally surfaces. 10 years. That's how long the truth stayed buried. For a decade, life moved forward as if nothing had happened. Mornings passed, birthdays were celebrated, challenges were faced together, plans were made for the future. From the outside, the marriage looked stable, maybe even happy. But all of it rested on something unspoken. One conversation changed everything. She finally said the words she had been carrying for 10 years. "I had an affair. Not recently. Not last year, 10 years ago." And in that moment, time collapsed. The confession didn't come during a fight. There were no accusations, no suspicious messages, no dramatic discovery, just a quiet admission that arrived far too late. She said the guilt never left her, that it followed her through every anniversary, every shared smile, every moment that was supposed to be pure. She said she stayed silent because she was afraid of losing everything she had built since then. And over time, silence became routine. But silence doesn't erase truth. It only delays its impact. The first reaction wasn't rage. It was numbness. Shock doesn't always scream. Sometimes it settles in quietly, while the mind struggles to process what the heart has already felt. Questions surfaced immediately. Was the marriage ever real? Were those 10 years genuine or incomplete? Was love honest if this truth was hidden for so long? And the most unsettling question of all, if this could be hidden for 10 years, what else could be hidden? Betrayal is often described as a sudden explosion, but this felt slower, like discovering a fracture in the foundation of a house that had stood for years without showing any signs. The structure was still there, but suddenly, nothing felt secure. Memories began to shift. Moments once remembered as joyful now carried doubt. Moments that felt intimate now felt uncertain. The past itself didn't change, but its meaning did. She said the affair ended quickly. She said it was a mistake. She said she chose the marriage. And maybe all of that was true, but time doesn't cancel betrayal. It only postpones it. The pain wasn't felt 10 years ago. It was felt now, immediate, raw, undeniable. There's a belief that old betrayals hurt less, that time dulls the damage. But betrayal doesn't age. It waits. And when it finally surfaces, it carries the weight of everything that followed it. Every shared memory, every promise, every expression of love spoken without the full truth. It becomes impossible to separate what was real from what was withheld. Anger eventually arrived, not explosive, but constant. Anger at the lie, anger at the lost ability to choose, anger at being denied the truth for an entire decade. Because the betrayal wasn't only the affair, it was 10 years of deciding someone else didn't deserve the truth. Then came silence, long stretches where words felt inadequate and thoughts grew louder in the dark. Should forgiveness be offered? Is love enough to stay? Does staying mean strength or fear? Does leaving mean failure or self-respect? There were no clear answers, only the realization that betrayal places people at crossroads no one prepares for. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. It isn't immediate, it isn't automatic, and it isn't owed. Trust doesn't reset because time has passed. It doesn't rebuild itself simply because remorse exists. Trust requires honesty, and honesty delayed always has consequences. Love still existed. That was the most confusing part. Pain and love didn't cancel each other out. They existed together, uncomfortable, unresolved. It was possible to care deeply while feeling deeply wounded at the same time. This wasn't a simple story of good and bad. It was a story of human weakness, fear, guilt, and consequence. There is no universal ending to stories like this. Some choose to rebuild, some choose to walk away, some choose to pause before deciding anything at all. None of those choices are wrong. Staying doesn't mean forgetting. Leaving doesn't mean giving up. Healing doesn't come from pretending nothing happened. It comes from facing what did. For anyone carrying a secret, time doesn't make it lighter. It makes it heavier. For anyone uncovering a truth long buried, pain is valid, no matter how old the betrayal is. And for anyone questioning love, trust, or forgiveness, sometimes the truth doesn't destroy a life. Sometimes it forces it to be rebuilt, honestly. This is a Fair Confessions, where silence ends and truth begins.